there an anime you look back on fondly? One that almost feels somewhat akin to a dream? Making you feel this fleeting sense of happiness. Soon after, you find the happiness you felt fading instantly, making you crave for its taste years later. However, when you come to revisit it again, you find yourself reliving those exact same moments, feelings, that makes your heart ache, beating out of your chest similar to when you'd lost your first love. Well, maybe that last part might have been a little bit dramatic. The World of Narue is a 2003 anime produced by Studio Live. I thought me not knowing about this studio could have been due to the fact that I know very little in regards with anime studios. Although this time around it's because the studio in particular haven't done any anime worth mentioning. Look at all these mediocre scores. I've never even heard of these shows, and not to come off as rude, but the quality of the art does seem very low budget. From what I could see, the last thing they've made independently was an anime original movie called Zunder Horizon, having a score averaging around 5.52. Not a great look. The anime with the highest score is the one I'll be having a look at today, The World of Narue. Part of a new video series I like to call the Nostalgia Archives, where I look at older or lesser known anime which I enjoyed or remembered that I don't hear many people talking about nowadays. This anime was originally a manga series that ran in Shonen Ace from 1999 to 2012, and it had 10 volumes. You what, mate? Like, how can a manga series run for so long and only produce 10 volumes? For comparison, One Piece had 58 volumes from 1999 to 2012. If Oda ever did that, we'd probably only still be getting to the Grand Line, and the reality that I die before One Piece ended would become a terrifying reality. I'm not sure about the reasons behind this, but it might be due to the author Tomohiro Marakawa going on a few hiatuses in between releasing every chapter or volume. Which isn't uncommon, right, Hunter x Hunter? Besides all that, let's get into what this anime is about. The plot is relatively simple. It's about a boy named Kazuto Izuka, who's saved by Narue Nanase, a girl who's poor, lonely, and is just very apathetic about life in general. Everyone at school believes she's a lunatic and a freak after she indulges everyone that she's an alien. Apparently, she lives in a house called the Galactic Federation? Yeah, this girl is ticking all the green flags for Psycho, but like any teenage boy who likes beautiful women, Kazuto is enthralled by her. How will the shy otaku boy ever be able to talk to her again? Well, he's got a trusty bat on hand. Not only was it used to save his life, but also save the scared otaku boy from the extreme sexual attention present when asking her out for tea. She immediately agrees after he passes her vibe check. You're fine with me being an alien? Cool, let's date, bro. I know they're 14-year-old kids, but you'd think Kazuto would be a bit more careful to agreeing to go out with someone like that. I mean, I think she's a lunatic. Though, I digress. The last part of the episode introduces us to creatures known as space ninjas who are out to kill Narue and her father. Later on it's revealed that they're out to kill them because they don't agree with the idea of Narue and her old man living on Earth. She takes the ninja out with ease, and then Narue shows Kazuto a fleet of ships in space after he straight up lies.
You like those women's magazines, isn't that right? Do you think maybe I should read them too?
Everybody knows you just wanted to please her. And like that, both of them are going out. The rest of the anime consists of many slice of life moments where we learn some things about Kazuto, mainly during the first few episodes, but predominantly we learn about Narue and the world around her, since she is an alien. This isn't to say some more grounded episodes aren't great. One that I really enjoyed is called Kanaka Goes to School. In this episode, Kanaka becomes friends with Hajime Yagi, since they both struggle to make friends at school and remember each other after Yagi was looking towards the sky the previous night to find a UFO sighting. She was satisfied after getting a picture of a golden fish. Crap, these kids are stupid. There's conflict between Yagi and Narue because Narue believed Yagi only wanted to be friends with Kanaka to get closer to herself and find out her secrets. In actuality, Yagi is just very lonely and genuinely was searching for a friend. Eventually their conflict subsides, Yagi becoming the main part of the supporting cast thereafter. Episodes aren't afraid to venture away from Narue and Kazuto's relationship, developing its characters when the opportunity arises. Except for Masaki Maruo, who gets shafted, but we'll get back to that soon. What drew me into this series initially when I was around 10, 11 years old was not only the overly positive view regarding high school life, which I had yet to experience, but also about how the series' supernatural elements hinted at a more substantial plotline, which could possibly lead to events and stories on a galactic scale, which is why I was somewhat shocked and disappointed when things ended on the 12th episode. Now that my taste in anime and media in general is more refined, I have to say, the overarching conflict between the Galactic Federation and space terrorists is very vague, which I think is very much on purpose, as the main villain for the series up until the end, the Inspector and Galactic Federation, have reasonable motivations behind their actions. An episode which properly justifies this is episode 6, The Impact of Love, where the Inspector sends an android named Rin Asakura to Earth. Rin is able to hypnotize people into being compliant with her wishes. She specifically does this with Kazuto in order to make Narue jealous to the point where they possibly break up and she can't bear being around Kazuto, so she'll instead have no option besides living in space. I like this episode because it strengthens the bond Kazuto and Narue share. Kazuto showing the audience how much he likes Narue to the point where he's able to resist the effects of mind control, and Narue realizing how important Kazuto is to her, prompted Narue to kiss him. This episode shows that the Inspector only wants Narue to embrace the alien side of her heritage. He's always been respectful of Narue and her father's wishes to stay on Earth to the point where he disobeyed his superiors for them. It just puts him in a difficult situation where it's in his best interest that they leave Earth. Though this will prove to be quite a difficult ongoing conflict as Narue wants to fully embrace being human. Her relationship with Kazuto strengthens that desire to stay on Earth even more, which is why they attempt to get between them. There are other episodes such as Starship in Love, where what would be a regular beach episode in another anime, the world of Narue uses this as an opportunity to have an audience learn more about starships like Bathyska? It's a tough one to say. This plotline is used not to necessarily expand the lore, but used as a way to make a small little love story between human and android. I don't think it was executed particularly well, but I appreciate the effort. I mean, the first episode was fine, albeit a little rushed, although the continuation episode, episode 11, was way too confused with what it was trying to achieve. Was it attempting to make the mother a conflicting force for why Haruna shouldn't be married to her son? Did an event happen to make Haruna, the starship, conflicted about marriage? The episode felt hollow. When Haruna finally got married, I didn't care much for it. I was bored because I knew the episode was trying to justify why Haruna was just like any other person and deserved to be married, but who told her she wasn't? You might say, maybe it's simply self-doubt. However, the episode doesn't show this at all. I have to sit here and guess the reason for why she felt she couldn't have been married, and that's poor writing. Another problem I have with this series is stories with regards to how Earth and people are mythologized in some sense to be represented as a better species because of how much compassion and love they have for each other and their surroundings compared to the aliens who are always fighting.
This planet is just full of good people.
I don't understand why I'm still getting hate.
We will build a great wall along the southern border.
These aliens suck at researching Earth's history because if they knew Earth's history, they wouldn't be so quick to say that Earth is this magical fairyland of a place. People from Earth can be just as cruel as villains like the space ninjas. The only difference is humans have less power compared to those space ninjas, so they aren't as deadly. I don't mind stories expressing good aspects of human nature, though I feel stories in general tend to overemphasize the good through anecdotal experiences. Kazuto might be a good-natured fellow, though the same is true for other 14-year-old boys or people in general. A 14-year-old boy's kindness won't help find peace between two opposing forces in space. That's ridiculous. When looking at the characters, the most important one is for sure Narue herself. I mean, the anime is called The World of Narue. While she is presented as somewhat gloomy, it's only because she's constantly bullied. She's had to learn to block out all the haters and not give a reaction for her own mental sanity. And it's clear it's not how she preferred to behave, as naively, when Kazuto shows he's fine with her being an alien, she immediately shows who she truly is. Like, you don't even know who this guy is. He could be trying to trick you and use your moment of vulnerability to make fun of you. It would have been much better plotline if Narue was cruel to Kazuto for the entire episode and then opens up to him when she finds out that Kazuto is uniquely very kind and understanding in comparison to the other kids in their school, which Even if it's a stretch, it's better justification for why they believe Earth is full of uniquely good people. Still a stretch, but less of a stretch compared to what they actually came up with. Kazuto himself is an average boy in personality and his behavior patterns. He reacts to situations like how younger boys believe they should act when they're his age, acting as a self-insert for audiences to experience the world and story, because when I look at things through his eyes, I feel the romance more, making me feel all tingly inside. I feel secondhand embarrassment when Kazuto accidentally forgets to hide all the very cultured material scattered around his room. And you could say I'm projecting and all the other lame terms you might have, though I'm sure of my assessment because this man is an otaku. Usually, otakus are cooped up in their rooms, flying from one fictional world to another, not leaving many opportunities to experience romantic relationships. Anime like these fill the void for people like that, so they can have even more incentive to stay locked up in their rooms. Corporations care about us! Though, one very problematic thing about this guy is his innate selfishness regarding his hobbies. He's going on a date with Narue, and he spent the whole time collecting anime merch and going to conventions. Like, if he really wanted to do these things, he could have rescheduled his date with Narue, though, instead, like a selfish kid, he wastes her time. What's even worse is that this is framed to be Narue's fault for apparently being unreasonable. She then goes on to spend her time making a magical girl suit for him to win a competition against the voice actor so she can win back Kazuto. Again, he was the unreasonable one, yet he did nothing the whole episode to attempt to rectify his mistakes. Narue is the one going through all the effort instead. It's foolish Narue thought she had to do that, and it's foolish is what they fought about. Despite that, I actually enjoyed the episode. I know the message was supposed to be that Kazuto loves Narue whether she's like an anime character or not. However, something about the premise felt disingenuous. Like, of course he likes his real life girlfriend more. There doesn't need to be an episode proving that. It'd have been more worthwhile for Narue to question if she should be with Kazuto after he meets a girl more in tone with his hobbies. An episode like that would have justified all of Narue's actions more and made Kazuto seem less selfish. The other supporting cast of characters are fine, albeit a little shallow. I feel it'd be unfair to nitpick this since it's a 12 episode anime and the manga probably found the time to properly explore the characters more. A character who needed it the most being Masaki Maruo. He's a stand-up guy who doesn't mind supporting people when he can, especially Kazuto, who's more shy in comparison. In fact, he seems to like being around others as more support, if only to boost his ego. Him giving dating advice, which is sometimes good and other times misguided or simply some pseudoscience he found off 4chan or Reddit. Explaining female nature using some red pill garbage. In the end though, it's all played for laughs and he's a relatively harmless character who could have used some more attention like Yagi. They both have a very good friendship with one another since they grew up together, and other than Kazuto, this is the only other character he gets to have meaningful interactions with. All I want to see when I eventually read the manga is a few chapters dedicated to giving him the development and screen time he deserves, instead of him simply being the best friend character who's there to prove Kazuto has a friend. I've already talked a little about Yaki, but I like her character arc. She initially isn't fond of Narue because she feels Narue claims to be an alien for attention, which annoys Yagi since she feels she knows what aliens look like. And this annoys her so much because Yagi is ultimately very lonely, so her hobby of believing in UFOs and aliens, as ridiculous as it might seem to a normal person, distracts from the lonesomeness she feels. The only person she had before Kaneka and Narue was Maruo. She isn't my favourite character, though I appreciate the approach they took with her. The only thing I didn't appreciate was the fact that even despite Narue being wrong about Yagi only being friends with Kaneka to get closer to her, I still felt Yagi should have apologized for how badly she treated Narue on many occasions. I mean, during that same morning, the reason why Narue was pissed and jumped to that conclusion was because Yagi threw balls at her to prove Narue wasn't an alien and ended up getting Narue hurt. It's not the worst thing in the world, just something that I noticed. The last two important characters I can think of are Kaneka and Bathyska. Starting with Kaneka, she's your standard tsundere who means well in everything she does and tries to act like an adult at times, and it ends up screwing her over. Exactly how a kid would be. Kaneka feels more pressure about growing up considering she's technically older than Narue, but due to some issue with how she traveled to Earth, she's remained the same age while 15 years has passed for everyone else. Throughout the 12 episodes, Bathyska acts many times as Kaneka's foil when she's doing unreasonable or stupid things. Like, goddamn girl, put that gun away! Besides that, when it comes to the other supporting characters, they're serviceable. They exist and carry out their roles well. Do I want to see more about the Inspector? Yeah, sure. Do I want to see more of Rin? Oh hell no. A chapter justify why I should like her would be appreciated, so manga, I'm putting a lot on you, but please satisfy at least some of my greedy desires. I can see why many people don't really remember a show like this. Its plotlines are largely generic, with character archetypes I've definitely seen a few times. The studio it's made by doesn't have a great track record, and with only 12 episodes, there wasn't many opportunities to fully develop the characters or even story like the series maybe wanted to. It didn't help that this anime came out during a time when anime reached a smaller audience, leading to smaller active discussions surrounding the anime to generate hype for it. I want to emphasize with this review that this anime has many good qualities. The anime faded off the map because while the good outshined the bad, they weren't good or engaging enough to make people want another season. I'd have liked if this anime had more episodes, though we anime fans can't have it all, I guess. I recommend watching the anime as a nice distraction or something to quell your boredom if you've got nothing to do that day. It'll keep you engaged long enough to finish it, though probably not long enough to stick in your mind like Naruto or One Piece. For me personally, I can't forget this one, especially after reliving it through making this review.